Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Does the Washington offense continue to roll on Monday night? What should you be doing with Jamal Williams? And how do you unlock the puzzle of a Doug Baldwin game-time decision? Plus, the Week 3 leader in the Footballguys Players Championship, Dallas Grimes, talks about how he went on a little tight end crazy in his draft, what he expects from the Giants ground game, and much, much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
What more can I say? We top billing it. Stallion without billing it. Viciously found victory. Burnt towns and villages. Burning, looting, and pillaging. Murderers try to hurt us. We curse them and all that killing. I just want the bread and bologna bundles to tuck away. I don't work for free, I am barely giving up away. So tell begging Johnny and mommy to get the away. Hey, yo, here's a gun, son, now run, get it the gut away. Live to shoot another day.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Nobody speaks.
Welcome. Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and even those Gerzak addicts listening. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, who's going to step up in Cincy now that Tyler Eifert is going to be missing several weeks. What our expectations are for Aaron Jones and the rest of the Green Bay running game after last night's debacle, or should I say debacles. Plus, Dallas Grimes, the leader in the 2017 Footballguys Players Championship, talks about his worst fantasy loss, Will Fuller's fantasy impact on his teammates in Houston, and we answer your emails, tweets, and more in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. Our audio engineer is Bryce. Our producer and mutual friend is Rob, and they are getting those questions to us. We got a lot to get to tonight, and I hope we get to the majority of them. For the first time in this show's history, we'll be addressing at least 70% of your emails. That's my goal. I don't know if it's going to happen. That's what we're going to shoot for. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, we are at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak. You can post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/HSFF Hour. If you want to chime in and talk with us, give us a call at 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox and highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Dave, we are coming after this week. We will be more than a third of the way into the regular season for the Fantasy Football Players Championship main event and the Footballguys Players Championship. It's flying by. I want a do-over.
Well, that's because your drafts.
Well, my teams are terrible, but I want a do-over because I want that magical week one feeling again. You know, that's what I want.
Yeah, it's tough, man. You know, the drafting season is so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it can be a grind in the middle of the season, but I'm having fun with waivers and stuff.
Waivers. It's always so daunting. Placing them every single week and I haven't played this many teams in a long time, but I always enjoy Thursday mornings or sometimes Thursday afternoons because it's like I just had a draft last night. I got to see if I got this guy. I got to see if I got this guy. Yeah. So, yeah, very exciting stuff.
Do you have any money left, or are you still all right?
You know, in some of my leagues, I actually have more than $700. I don't know how that's possible.
That's good, yeah.
Nice. Other leagues, I'm down to $4 in one. That was the Allen Robinson.
I told you not to do
that. Yeah, that was bad. And then there's another one. I just checked the other day. I picked up a handful of guys for the better part of $100 this week, and I'm down to $60 in that league. Right. But all my other ones, I'm like, I get at least a few $100 left. Right. Are yours still going good too? You got enough to make a move?
They're okay. This is not my best season drafting. As far as my I look at I've had seasons where I look at the benches. I'm like, this bench could start as much as the starters could.
Yeah.
Not the case so far this year.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it, trying to turn over that depth. The problem is when you have guys that are like the guys that they project for like 8 points and 7 points, where you just really want to cut them.
Yeah.
And you can't, but
No, you really can't. You had a lot of David Johnson shares this year, so at 2, so it seems like you were
tougher. Yeah.
behind the 8 ball a little bit.
Yeah,
but
a little bit.
you're
All
such an amazing drafter, Dave,
right.
that you can rebound easily.
All right.
I want to bring in tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. Enough of us talking. He has participated in the high-stakes fantasy football league since 2006, starting with the old WCOF, the World Championship of Fantasy Football. He finished in 7th place overall in the WCOF in 2008. He's drafted live in Las Vegas the past several years as part of the Fantasy Football Players Championship. He actually is coming off a main event league championship this past year, and annually he drafts a few Footballguys Players Championship teams. He's won a few leagues over the past couple of years there, but right now, currently sitting in first place out of 7,200 teams in the FPC in the chase for the $250,000 grand prize as we head into week 4. Please welcome into the show Mr. Dallas Grimes. Dallas, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate the chance to come on. It's quite an honor, and I enjoy playing in these leagues and what you guys set up and run for us annually. So glad to be here.
That's awesome. Well, I'm just glad you're enjoying it, too. I mean, that's the biggest thing. But certainly, got to be exciting. I know it's early. We're still in September. But, Dallas, when you look at that leaderboard and you see Dallas Grimes in first place, that's got to get you going.
I've got to admit, Sunday night and Monday night, as I kept accumulating points and seeing how many minutes I had left, even though it's early, there is a little bit of satisfaction in getting off a good start because, the points in September count just as much as they do in November and December. So I kind of agree with what y'all were saying also with the David Johnson. During draft season, you were hoping to get a top 3 pick, land one of those stud running backs. And that didn't happen, so you go with Plan B. And right now Plan B has turned out to be a hot start. So luck, obviously plays a factor into our strategy. So.
Yeah, I mean, nobody has gotten off to a faster start than you, Dallas. It's certainly been very impressive. We're going to talk about what happened this last week with the massive score you put up. Before we get into that, tell the listeners what you do for a living when you're not playing and leading the FPC.
I'm in Lubbock, Texas, and I'm a school administrator. I used to be a history teacher and coach, and now I've gotten into administration, which allows me a little more time to dabble in the fantasy football side of things. So. But that's
after lunch is when he does it.
Right. Yeah.
After the last bell
what
rings.
sport did you coach, Dallas?
I'm in a smaller district in West Texas, so Friday Night Live. In fact, I'm kind of skipped out for a little bit on our football game tonight, but I did football. I was primarily the basketball coach, and then into our spring track and tennis seasons.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
So, Dallas, you really loaded up on tight ends in this draft. You took 3 of them in the first 6 rounds and 6 overall. This isn't a DE, So tell us why you made the choice to stack that position.
Well, just doing the research, I just feel like in this scoring format with 1.5 points per reception, if you land those big-time tight ends, I think that gives you an advantage. And I know the argument is, especially with Gronk and Reed, the injuries playing a factor, but I think you can. I think it just gives you a leg up on every week with having that advantage. That when they are healthy, even if it is for 8 to 10 weeks, you just take that and you just try to stream the rest of the way. And really, with Jordan Reed, I know everybody was shying away from him this summer. You just go into it knowing he's going to miss time, but last weekend, look what happened. And I think you can handcuff him with Vernon Davis is what I did. And that's worked out so far. If Gronk's healthy, that's obviously a huge advantage. And then I just had a good feeling on Zach Ertz, particularly in the preseason with how many balls he was getting. Now, this team I drafted was before Jordan Matthews got traded. And obviously I think that's helped him quite a bit. So, and just playing this format for several seasons, you just realize 5 balls for 50 yards for a tight end that's a pretty good day for some of these running backs that typically go in front of them. It's just easier to get your point totals up. So that was kind of the strategy. One other thing I like is if you go with 3 tight ends, you plug them into your 2 flex positions in addition to your tight end spot, you're really just having to field 2 running backs and 2 wides. And I just think you can, find those positions either through waivers or late in the draft, and your advantage at the tight end position allows you to do that and have success. You just really, the whole gamble here is to avoid having those guys get injured for significant weeks, or they're out significant parts of the season. So that's
nice
kind of
to see that Zach Ertz.
Playing. Sorry.
I was just going to say, when you talk about Zach Ertz, Dallas, it's nice to see him because the big knock on him was he could only play good the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. He gets off to these slow starts. He's playing right now like he has been playing at the end of 2015, at the end of 2016. If he can keep it up for an entire season, all of a sudden we're talking about him maybe having a top 3 tight end season. And when you already have Gronk, when you already have Jordan Reed, if Reed could stay healthy for 12 or 13 games, now you got a team, as George Costanza would say in Seinfeld. This is and we all saw what could happen when these guys are clicking and healthy. 238 this past week for you in the FPC. So certainly it's not just the tight ends, it's the overall roster that you have going. As long as we're talking about Reed, we saw Washington kind of struggle a little bit out of the gate the first 2 weeks of the season. It looks like they got right a little bit at home on Monday night against the Raiders this past week. You obviously, loading up with Jordan Reed, with Jamison Crowder, with Kirk Cousins all on this team, you had to expect big things from Washington. Is what we saw in Oakland against Oakland on Monday night, is this what we're going to see? Is everybody on track, ready to go now, and we're going to see Cousins, Reed, Crowder put up big games from here on out?
Boy, I sure hope so. I really enjoy how Gruden calls the game. I think he's aggressive. I think he wants to throw the ball more than run it. I don't think their roster is really built to run the ball all that well. I was drinking the Crowder Kool-Aid. That's what's funny is I probably reached on this team with Jamison Crowder. I believe I took him in the 4th round, and just felt like he was going to have a big season, and he's off to a slow start. When you look at their schedule, I don't see big things happening Monday night at Arrowhead, but after that it's kind of hit and miss. So I think they're going to rebound a little bit. They may get Josh Thompson involved, and I think that may help if he steps in for Pryor. And then, weeks 9 and 10, they have some tough matchups at Seattle, and then they get Xavier Rhodes in Minnesota. But after that, it really opens up for them. So I think with Gruden's aggressive play calling and some of the talent, I just think they've got too much talent in the receiving core for those numbers not to pop the rest of the way.
So you said that you're willing to take injury-prone tight ends. Are you willing to take the injury-pronest of all? Tyler, piece of crap Eifert. He's expected to miss several weeks. He's the movie Unbreakable. He's Samuel L. Jackson.
He's Mr. Glass. He
is Mr. Glass. Who do you think the biggest? First of all, are you going to draft Never Again? You didn't draft him necessarily this year, but who's the biggest fantasy beneficiary for the Bengals now that Eifert's out yet again?
I heard a good line about Eifert on the radio the other day. You can't spell Eifert without IR. I don't know that I've ever owned the guy. But again, being here in Lubbock, Texas, we're home of Texas Tech University in the Big 12, which also has OU come in every other year. I think Joe Mixon is into really put up some nice numbers with the new offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. He ran all over the Red Raiders here in Lubbock, and I think he's fixing to do that. The guy's just really talented. He had that blemish. We kind of saw him fall in the draft. But I really think with that behind him, he may outshine the rest of the rookies here before too long.
Yeah, the thing is with Mixon, the talent is there. All he needs is like just a coach
not to give carries to the other guys.
Well, but I think we already saw against Green Bay with the new offensive coordinator. Bernard, I think, had like 7 snaps. Jeremy Hill was non-existent. So I think they're like the proverbial light bulb is officially on in Cincinnati now when it comes to Mixon. I just think they need just a semi-decent offensive line. Just give him a little bit of a crease to run through so he's not getting slammed right at the line of scrimmage. And obviously you would have thought that Eifert would help take some pressure off of Mixon facing these 8-man boxes. Now that kind of falls on A.J. Green. But I'm with you. I think Mixon, it's all there. He just needs to make the plays and be given a little bit of an opportunity to do so. Let's keep talking about running backs here, Dallas, as we're talking with Dallas Grimes, the Football Guys Players Championship leader going into Week 4 here. Wendell Smallwood was a hot name off the waiver wire in the leagues that he was still available in, which wasn't a ton. But now all of a sudden we're talking about potentially starting him as a flex in this suddenly high-powered Philadelphia offense that has been clicking very well. Darren Sproles breaks his arm, tears his ACL on the same play. I feel like I've done that with some injuries in my past before. When it rains, it pours. And it certainly is pouring for Darren Sproles right now. But the opportunity is there for Smallwood. So you look at him, Dallas, how big of an impact do you think he makes not only on the Eagles' offense but in fantasy lineups here going forward?
Well, it's kind of a wait-and-see approach. I think Smallwood, just on the eyeball test, he sticks out as the guy to have. I thought this summer he eventually would take the job. LeGarrette Blount, though, will get the red zone carry, so that causes some pause. I was really fired up about Smallwood earlier in the week, and then they signed Kenjon Barner, who's been with them before, and that just makes you wonder, will he have a role somewhat in the passing game? Smallwood's not the biggest guy in the world, but he kind of strikes me for a team that maybe went zero running back, or maybe has an injury and is looking for some depth. I think you would want to spend a significant portion of your fab budget on him. Again, the Eagles like to throw the ball quite a bit. I think he'll pick up the receptions. I could see him 50 to 75 yards in total yards every week. You just got to resign yourself to maybe the fact that Blount gets the 1-yard dive once Smallwood takes it all the way down the field. But I think for people that are hurting at running back, this is somebody to really look at with your fab budget.
We got a question from the chat room here for you, Dallas. Starter sit question this week. Mint Montana needs to pick between Jameis Winston and Trevor Siemian as his QB this week. Winston is at home against the Giants. Siemian also at home against the Oakland Raiders. If you had to pick one of those guys here in Week 4, which guy are you placing your chips on between Siemian and Winston this week?
In my other leagues, I picked up Siemian. Just watching him play, I think the guy, he just looks like a totally different player. He's got two, 3 good wide receivers that are going to get him, or he'll get the ball to and take care of him. That Oakland defense is somebody that I definitely want to go after with my players. So I would lean towards Siemian quite a bit. Plus, the Giants defense, I think they could present some problems to Winston. So I really like Siemian, and I do believe in the bounce-back games. Siemian had a rough one up in Buffalo last weekend. So for me, I'm going Siemian really pretty heavily on that deal over Winston.
For what it's worth, Dave, I would agree. I would start Siemian over Winston this week.
I feel a little safer with him, yeah.
It's funny, just real quick. I only own both of those guys in one league, and it's the Scott Fish Bowl where I'm starting both of them because of the quarterback flex. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, go ahead.
So how are you doing with your free agent budget? Balky and I were talking about how we generally blow ours in September, and then more specifically with the big team, the team in first place. How many dollars do you have left in that one?
I haven't checked this last one that just ran. I think I'm sitting about $880. I'm off to a good start. I'm probably
rich.
Pretty conservative with that team, just to see how it plays out. I think to some extent it's what your record is. Like y'all alluded to, about a third of the way through the season, you get off to a bad start. It could be hard to get catch up before. You really need to be caught up by Halloween, or it may be over. Excuse me. But really, I just learned, let other guys spend the money early. And then late in those weeks later on, you may be in a bind with bye weeks that are coming up or injuries. So you really want to hold on to your money to really get in here in the next couple weeks. So, again, it kind of depends on injuries and where you sit on the standings. But if you start fast, I really think it's best to hold off and not spend all those dollars until you really need them.
I agree with that, Balky, because especially – you have any money for the playoffs, like you were just saying.
Exactly. It's such an advantage, especially in the FFPC, the way it's set up. Like all of a sudden, you're bidding against a third of what you've been bidding against all season long.
And one guy always forgets out of the 4.
Sometimes more than one.
Sometimes 3 or 4. Sometimes all 4 forget.
Yeah, I've never seen all 4 remember. I'll tell you that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. So don't be that guy when you make the playoffs.
one thing on the fat budget that I really feel like I've got better at is trying to look 2 or 3 weeks down the road and looking at some matchups. If you have 1 or 2 spots at the bottom of your roster that you're able to basically use as your streaming positions, I really try to look 2 or 3 weeks down the road and pick up a defense or quarterback, just for a couple bucks. And I think that's a way to save some money, but also get nice matchups for you as the season progresses.
That's a great point, Dallas, and that's something that I think listen, there's too many weaknesses I have when it comes to fantasy football to list them all on this show. We just don't have enough time. But one of them is me not being able to look ahead 2 or 3 weeks. I can look ahead of this week and maybe next week, but that's one of the things I've always struggled with. And just to promote one of our partners here, Dave, at Footballguys.com, Sigmund Bloom does a great article every week about looking forward with defenses. So if you're looking to stream defenses, if you're looking to acquire guys before they have that hot matchup, great article on Footballguys.com that you can check out every week. That's updated by Mr. Sigmund Bloom, who actually is doing very well in the FFPC Pros vs. Joe's Challenge. Not as well as Dallas Grimes, who is our guest here tonight, leading the Football Guys Players Championship going into Week 4. Dallas, we know you've won multiple Football Guys Players Championship leagues before. We know you are coming off an FFPC Main Event League Championship from last year. If you were to say what your best win in fantasy is and then your worst beat or your worst loss, what would those two be?
Well, I'm going to go away from my high-stakes leagues and talk about my local league for a little bit, how we got started. I've been playing fantasy football since the late 90s with some high school buddies, and we played through college and into our professional careers. It's a good group. We've been able to keep nearly everybody together. We draft up at Texas Tech's home stadium every year, and won it a couple times. But probably my biggest win would be in my home league. One of my bitter rivals, Donnie Hart, former receiver for the Red Raiders, had me down.
Nice.
Believe it or not, it was week 15 of 2011, and I was left with Greg Little, who at the time played for the Browns. And it was a late or a 3 o'clock game here in Texas. And he catches a 76-yard pass from Seneca Wallace that puts me over the top. So to beat your rival and advance to the championship, which I later won, with Seneca Wallace completing a pass to Greg Little was pretty sweet because I'd just about given up.
Greg
Little, man, making dreams possible.
Man, he was 6'3", 225, and he sucked.
He finished with 5 catches for 131, and I think that's about half of his career stat. So
yeah, that's his best game ever by far.
Yeah.
Wow, you were very, very smart.
Greg Little, big expectations, small performance, but it worked out for you. That's awesome. Dallas? Do you have any like bad beat stories of like a terrible way, like when you were on the losing end of one of those Greg Little stories?
Okay, same league, but let's go back to 2001. And I'm in the championship, and it's on Monday Night Football, back when it was on ABC, and we're all at our local sports bar, and a good part of the league was there to watch the championship game. And I am playing. The guy had the Ravens defense, and so it comes down to 2-minute warning. I'm ahead as long as he doesn't get a pick six or a fumble and scoops it and runs it. I'm good. I've won the championship. And the Vikings quarterback is late in the season, obviously being the week 16, was Spurgeon Wynn. Infamous Spurgeon Wynn basically gets sacked. Jamie Sharper from the Ravens scoops up the fumble, and they return it for a touchdown. And I think the worst part was it was within the 2-minute warning. I thought I'd had it, and to sit there in front of everybody and watch that happen, everybody was just afraid to even look at me at that point. But Spurgeon Wynn is not a name I really enjoy saying. So,
and for everybody listening tonight,
Spurgeon Wynn and Greg Little. Sorry, but
yeah,
it's funny how fancy.
I was just gonna say.
You proved that you played it a long time.
Well, not only that, but anybody who tuned in tonight that thought they weren't going to hear any Greg Little or Spurgeon Wynn, you are sorely mistaken, because we got both of them tonight. That's awesome, Dallas. Bring it back to current day, back up to 2017. Orland Darkwa is on this dominant roster right now for you in the FPC. The Giants got their air attack going against Philly. Obviously, Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, Beckham, they all had very good games. Eli Manning threw for 300+. Ground game, not so much. When does it start clicking for New York? And when it does, is Darkwood the guy you want to own?
The Jets are getting all the flack in New York, but I think the Giants are the worst team. They're in the Big Apple. I don't think the ground game gets current guys that got. Paul Perkins just doesn't pass the eyeball test. Buddy of mine, Kyle Pitts, is on Wayne Gallman. He's been on him since the summer. I'm curious to see what happens this weekend. And in all my leagues where Gallman was available, we're scooping him up. So probably a little biased here, but I just feel like Gallman's worth a gamble. I think he may emerge as the guy.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind, too.
Fourth-round rookie out of Clemson, so I think they may give him a chance.
I think that the other thing to keep in mind, too, is, like, we kind of know what Vereen is. We kind of know what Perkins is. We kind of know what Darkwood is, quite frankly. The guy that we're not really sure of is Gallman, and this is the unknown. And usually in fantasy, you're better off going with the unknown rather than the proven guy when you're talking about a flyer off the waiver wire.
Put a little cold water on it, though. He was been inactive because the coaches pretty much said he's just not ready to play.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a good investment. I'm saying that if I have to make the investment, Gallman, I could certainly spend.
Couple bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we have in the chat room tonight, Billy Joe 166 said he picked up Wayne Gallman for $2 tonight in the FFPC waiver wire. Which, by the way, how do we know the results of that already?
I don't know. I think he maybe means he's trying.
Oh, he's trying to. Okay, all right. But the bids are locked. I mean, at this point, well, I guess they're not.
They're
no, they are. They locked it a half hour ago.
Yeah. And
okay.
They usually don't process quite that quickly.
I was going to say this is like
our server upgrades are coming, but they're not in yet.
Yeah. Well, it's coming. So are these emails that I'm about to read here, Dallas.
The Giants, I think Ben Beckham is the first coach fired, and with Beckham doing his antics, I can see him being suspended or suffering an injury. Brandon Marshall looks washed up. I just think they turn it over to all these young guys. Gallman, Evan Ingram. I think Sterling Shepard emerges. I just think it could be ugly in New York with the G-men. So that's why we're saying going with the young guys.
Yeah, they seem like they are in a bit of a transition right now. With Eli Manning getting older, we could be talking about one of these, stud quarterbacks that are supposed to be going in the first round of the NFL draft, potentially going to New York and being Eli Manning's replacement. Maybe in 2019 he's ready to take over, and we're witnessing the penultimate year of Eli Manning in a New York Giants uniform. Dallas, let's get to a couple of emails for you. First one's from Bob in Dulzura, California. He says, "Hi, Dallas. If Will Fuller returns this week, is he a top 40 option at wideout, and how does he change the value of DeAndre Hopkins and Ryan Griffin?" That is Bob in Dulzura, California. Will Fuller, the last time I checked, I think he actually is expected to make his return. I don't know if you have strong feelings for Will Fuller right away in his first game back or at all, but what are your thoughts, Dallas, here, not only on Fuller, but his impact on his teammates there?
Oh, I think he's just kind of a dart throw. I think he's Ted Ginn or Marquise Goodwin. He can run, with the best of them. He's going to be wide open, but whether he catches it or not, it's a different thing. Bill O'Brien, to me, is a pretty conservative play caller. I think they're going to run the ball quite a bit. I think Watson will do a lot with his legs and then check it down some to Griffin. I think any of the design throws are going to go mainly to, obviously, to Nuke. I think Fuller is an all or nothing, just swing for the fences, but not really investing a whole lot. Just really offensive philosophy concerns me.
Second email I have for you here. This is from Jeff in Salt Lake City, Utah. He says, "What's up, man? Have an SOS for you at tight end this week. Would you roll with Jason Witten at home against the Rams or Kyle Rudolph hosting the Lions?" That is Jeff in Salt Lake City, Utah. Jeff, thank you for the email. We certainly appreciate it. Dallas, what do you think? Is Witten in Dallas going to be the play against the Rams, or would you rather start Kyle Rudolph in that NFC North matchup against Detroit?
I would lean towards Witten. He had a down game last week over in Arizona, and I do believe in the bounce back. I think Witten gets more involved. For what it's worth, though, I think Rudolph. I think they're pretty equal as far as choices, but I would lean towards Witten.
Witten it is. Dallas, you have been very gracious with your time tonight. I certainly appreciate it. Before we let you go for the evening and let you get back to enjoying seeing yourself at the top of the leaderboard here in the FPC, let's give us a stud tonight that you're going to think about benching in Week 4, a guy that you're not too sure is going to put up the points that would make him a worthy starter this week, and then a guy that might find his way into your lineups that's a sleeper, a guy that a lot of people will not be starting that you think is being undervalued and should be started in a lot of lineups this week.
Okay, as far as the studs to bench, I would stay away from all the Raiders, maybe outside of Jared Cook. I think that Denver defense is going to shut down their aerial attack for another week. Also, two more wide receivers that I'm shying away from are Pierre Garçon with Patrick Peterson. You don't want any part of that. And then Doug Baldwin. I think the Seahawks blow out the Colts. Baldwin's banged up, and I think they should beat the Colts without, utilizing him too much. As far as a sleeper, same game, that Seattle game, I think this is Chris Carson's coming out party. I think they're going to hammer the running game, and the Colts will oblige. But I think Carson has multiple touchdowns this week. One other name that I really like is Marquise Goodwin. I think they're going to take some shots. Back to that Will Fuller question, I think I'd rather roll with Goodwin because Shanahan is going to test those corners opposite of Patrick Peterson. And then one name I'm really watching is Bilal Powell. If he doesn't do it this week, it's time to cut him loose. And one more sleeper if I could, is Elijah McGuire seems to be getting more and more time in the Jets offense. So I'm really going to be curious as to how those guys are utilized without Matt Forte.
I cannot see a future New York Jets team that has Matt Forte in their plans, that has Bilal Powell in their plans. I do see one where Elijah McGuire might be in their plans. So
it would back up to whoever they draft next year.
It would certainly behoove them to get to see what they got in him. So I like the McGuire pick. A lot of good thoughts there. I really appreciate all the sleepers this week, and really appreciate you coming on the show, Dallas. This was a lot of fun having you on. I'm going to let you get back to the Friday Night Lights there in Texas and watch the football team here that you were so gracious enough to step away from to talk to us tonight. Best of luck the rest of the way in the FPC and in all your leagues. And who knows, maybe we'll end up talking to you again at the end of the season if you're able to maintain this lead.
That sounds like a deal to me. I would gladly come back, and I just appreciate what y'all do for us and giving us, letting us enjoy this hobby. So thanks.
Thank you, Dallas Grimes. Really appreciate it. Leading the FPC, heading into Week 4, and once again breaking the HSFFR jinx. This is a massive team. 238 points in Week 3, Dave.
Holy cow!
Yeah, 238.
We didn't even say who was on.
Well, we talked about
Tyler Eifert.
No, not Eifert is not on.
Crappy guys.
No, it's not.
We didn't even talk about his team.
Gronk, Reed, Ertz are the main culprits. Kareem Hunt is on this team too.
Yeah, I suppose Kareem Hunt's on every team that's in the top 10 probably.
I do the FFPC email every week and sort of kind of recap all the stuff we have going on with some ancillary leagues. I try to update one of those every week to kind of give everybody a sense of what's going on. But I try to concentrate on the top teams in each, the main event and the FPC, and concentrate on what they did. And I can tell you that KC Deacons, which is Dallas Grimes' team, had Todd Gurley, Kareem Hunt, Larry Fitzgerald, Kirk Cousins, Rob Gronkowski, Zach Ertz, Pierre Garçon all go off this week. All had more than 20 points.
That's right. Of course, the Gurley, Garçon. Yeah, great. Good for him.
Gurley, think about this, though. Think about this. Gurley and Hunt as your two running backs, and then you have those three tight ends, Gronk, Reed, and Ertz in a tight end premium format.
It's tough to have done that after he must have drafted early, like you said.
Exactly.
So,
yeah,
that's good for him.
But I mean, just think about that roster now, and then you have old reliable Fitz and even older reliable Pierre Garçon. Yeah. Actually, I think Fitz is older, but still, a lot of potential on this team.
Garçon looked really good on Thursday. I was impressed.
I couldn't believe that stat they put up about.
Thursday?
Last Thursday, not yesterday,
yeah, I know.
but last.
Where it wasn't yesterday.
Yeah. I couldn't believe they put up that stat. Like he had like one drop last year at
That's incredible.
Minimum 80 targets or whatever it was. He had one drop all season.
Wow.
It's insane. They need to check that guy's gloves. I'll just say that right now. Pierre Garçon cannot be that good.
Got Pine Tar.
He might. I don't know. Speaking of Thursday night football, Dave, let's talk about what happened in the Packers-Bears game last night.
The Packers won by a ton, and everyone got injured on the Packers.
Yeah, which would seem to be contradictory statements, but not when you're playing the formidable Mike Glennon-led offense of the Chicago Bears.
It's weird that Glennon experiment's not working out. I mean, we really thought it. Oh, we didn't think it would.
John Fox, I think, still thinks it might.
Morons! I can't believe they paid him that much money.
Ian Rappaport. Let's break this down. Ian Rappaport initially reported that Ty Montgomery broke some ribs in last night's game. He was in a lot of pain after he got hit on the sideline there. Broken ribs, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, all within the normal wheelhouse. And Montgomery was obviously leading the NFL coming into this game in snaps for running backs. Jamal Williams comes in and takes over after that. We'll get to him in a second. Then we get a report tonight. He's day-to-day. Might actually end up playing a lot of snaps against Dallas. Injury not as bad as it's feared. I don't know if he had an x-ray and they're like, wow, hey, there's nothing cracked here. You are just a wuss, and you need to tough this out. I don't know what it is, but certainly good news for Montgomery owners. You might even be able to play him next week.
That is great news.
Especially
if you had backed him up with Jamal Williams, who then gets the biggest wimp award and gets hurt, like what, on a second carry or whatever?
It was, it wasn't a second.
Aaron Jones would have emerged as the new guy.
Right, okay, so Jamal Williams comes in. His MRI comes back negative. He has a knee strain, not a long-term injury.
Sprain?
But yes,
sprain.
Or a sprain. I don't know what it was.
Well, there's a substantial.
All that we care about is it's probably going to be a few weeks before Jamal Williams gets back, okay? Now, Adam Schefter said that Williams might miss the Cowboys game, but not more. Now, I'm not sure how you know that, how you know he's not going to play coming off the mini-bye, but he's going to play the week after that. That seems a little bizarre to me. Whatever. What are you doing with Jamal Williams if you own him right now? Because Montgomery, we think he's going to play against Dallas. We don't know. Williams is probably not going to play against Dallas. And Aaron Jones has the opportunity to usurp him on the depth chart this week.
He could even, they were talking about Jones even taking out Montgomery, which it's kind of a little hard to believe. But, Montgomery's not averaging like a zillion yards a carry.
No.
Williams I would look at cutting if he was like the worst guy on my roster. I would consider to cut him.
It's tough because you get super excited, not that we're rooting for injuries, but you get super excited like, oh, that really sucks about Montgomery. But, hey, I got Williams on these rosters, and then he goes down, and now you don't know if he's the guy behind the guy or the guy behind the guy behind the guy. It's one of those things where it's just I own him in one league. And it would have been more, but remember we had Matt Kelly on and said, don't draft Jamal Williams, don't draft any running backs with last name Williams. They're all terrible. And I ended up taking him in one league just to kind of hedge a little bit. I'm going to do whatever I can to keep him on that roster, but he might be one of these guys that just goes by the wayside, and we're talking about at the end of the season, Montgomery is the starter and Aaron Jones is the handcuff there. That's certainly a real possibility. You, if I remember correctly, actually like Jones more so than Jamal Williams after the Packers had added both of them onto their team.
He was a far superior athlete, Aaron Jones was.
Put up much better measurables at the Combine.
Yeah, not that it's all about measurables, but I don't know, Williams is they're really not good. They were very bad, very bad. They say he's a great instinctive running back and this and that, but it just didn't seem like he even had NFL caliber traits.
Well, if your instincts is to crack into your offensive linemen, then you are right.
And then get hurt.
The thing is, the Packers are down to their 6th and 7th tackles last night, so I don't want to put this all on the running backs. Because
it should be on the trainer who can't keep those people healthy.
Now, there's something to be said for that, too.
Seriously, how hard is it to keep guys healthy?
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm kind of complaining tnight. I feel like I'm complaining.
These guys are flying at speeds of like well over 1,000 miles an hour at each other. So I get why why it's a violent sport and people get hurt. But yeah, I feel like we've talked about the Packers being really hit hard by injuries before, and here we are again, where they're getting hit hard.
Do some stretching and yoga, and they'll be much better off.
What is, our very own Chris Lambert, what's the yoga she's always talking about? I feel like
either Bikram or Bikram, whatever it is.
Bikram, yeah. She's talking about how Bikram yoga has just changed her life.
The hot yoga, blah, blah, blah. It's got to be super hot, this or that. Yes, Chris. We hear you. You're the best.
Now, Chris
is great, by the way.
She is great, and we need to get her in touch with the Green Bay Packers medical staff so we can get this Bikram yoga thing.
There is no Bikram yoga in the Appleton area.
Well, maybe there should be in the Green Bay area.
Close to like big cities, if they don't have a Bikram guy.
They need something in Green Bay. Something's got to change for fantasy purposes. Not even because I'm a Packers fan.
They should.
Let's briefly talk about Aaron Jones here because he was the guy who came in and stepped in. 13 carries, 49 yards. He gets the touchdown as well after Montgomery and Williams goes down. Aaron Orkowski got a few carries in there as well. if Montgomery and Williams are both out against Dallas in Week 5, I have no problem sticking in Aaron Jones and expecting top 20 numbers.
Yeah, I would think so too, actually. I think he would have a fine game.
Top 20 running back numbers.
Yeah.
So.
All you have to do is beat out 12 other teams' running backs and the combo of Abdullah and Riddick.
My concern, and this is where you have to be careful here as FFPC owners, my concern is that he is probably not rostered in a ton of leagues right now. So he is going to be a very trendy waiver wire pickup as the possible starter for an elite offense. But, I mean, how much are you going to invest in a guy that might only have like one good week? You know what I mean?
Well, there's going to be a lot more news by next Wednesday evening when those waiver moves are going to get entered and processed. So I think we'll just see what happens at that point.
We will see what happens, but certainly something that all fantasy owners need to keep an eye on right now because it's a big thing. Let's go back to the chat room. Billy Joe 166, start or sit. He has an opportunity here to play Alex Collins, Dave.
He was talking about picking him up.
Oh, picking him up. Oh, okay.
I hope it's not an SOS.
You never know. Oh, yeah, DeAndre Washington. What guy would you rather have in your roster between Collins and Washington right now?
Probably Collins. I just am not that big of a Washington guy.
I think so, too. And it seems like the Oakland...
Cam is a flyer, though.
Totally. Both guys as a flyer. It seems like the Oakland handcuff to Marshawn Lynch seems to change every week. Like, it looked like it was Washington, then it looked like it was Rashard, now it looks like it's Washington again. Thing to keep in mind with Baltimore. Terrence West, not a very good player. Mm-hmm. Okay? We'll answer this question, then we'll do the start after this. Not a very good football player. Underwhelming numbers against Jacksonville in London last week. Loses the fumble, doesn't come back in, and then Alex Collins picks up 9 carries for 86 yards after that.
In garbage time when they were getting smoked.
But still happened. These are the facts, okay?
So when the white guys come in and an NBA team is down like 40 points, you know, the Jim McElvains of the world come in and...
I don't know what you're talking about.
And actually get some playing time.
First of all, McElvain never came off the bench because he was making too much money to come off the bench. He was being paid like a starter.
10th guy on the... Anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
My point has been made without even having to say it.
Well, that's fine. I would rather, if I had opportunity between the two, I think there's a little bit more clarity. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think there's a little bit more clarity with Collins than Washington. I would rather have Alex Collins.
I mean, if we're talking about the start, I might like Washington better because he actually is going to get carries, right?
You would think. It seems like they're kind of splitting that backfield up. The touches up almost evenly, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Marshawn gets a quarter off every game. Maybe.
Yeah, and so I mean, if you need to start somebody this week, Washington is probably who do you think has more touches this week, Collins or Washington?
I would think Washington.
I would think so too, and I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just looking for someone to pick up, then I would probably look at Collins because has a higher upside.
For what it's worth, Baltimore. I mean, these totals in both these games this week are very low. Baltimore is playing this slobber knocker Pittsburgh game that they do twice a year. You know the final of that game is going to be like 16-13 or something like that.
Sometimes they're not 16-13.
Sometimes they're not.
Sometimes they're like 35-33, 34.
I don't envision that happening this week. Actually, you want to take a guess at what the total is? I don't even know what it is. I thought it was a lower one.
I would say 44.
42 right now. So fairly low. The other one, that Oakland game, they are at Denver. Now that's a 46 game.
Thanks for letting me guess.
Sorry, but it's on the road, so I don't know how much of a game script that Washington is going to have in that game. Although he is kind of a pass catcher. You know what? Play Washington. Let's just move on. We'll just play Washington.
Sure.
All right, thanks.
You gave him a lot. Good job, Buck. You gave him plenty of screen time with that question.
And you know what, Billy Joe 166 is probably. I still have no idea what to do.
I hope the rest of your team is excellent.
Yeah, it probably is.
Because that particular slot. Not so good.
Thanks to RotoWorld and Rob for tonight's rundown. Kelvin Benjamin was not listed on the Carolina Panthers' final injury report for their Week 4 game against the New England Patriots. Benjamin actually returned to a full practice yesterday. Has not been very good yet. Neither has his cornerback. He's in a very good spot this week, Dave. No Greg Olsen. You would think last week would have been the big Benjamin breakout. He goes down early in that game. Doesn't really, get a chance to acquire much stats. You would think the New Orleans game, that's where he breaks out. No, New Orleans pass defense has done pretty bad this year. So he is
one of the worst.
He has a great shot to, put up like a 6 for 100 in a touchdown game here.
Yikes, he doesn't do that ever.
What? Kelvin Benjamin?
Mm-hmm.
That's I feel like you're baiting me here.
I would just like to know how many games Benjamin has with 100 yards or more and a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't know.
How many do you think in his career?
Do you know the answer?
No,
to
I
this?
don't. I'm guessing. No,
I have no idea.
Two?
No, it's more than 2.
Maybe 3. 3 is my guess.
It's more than 3.
In his career, in the rookie season, he had a good year. But
yeah.
How many do you think? I'm guessing
more than 3.
Well, let's look. So I'll look.
Right.
So 4?
Sure, 4. I don't.
Go ahead, keep talking, and I'll find out.
So one of the this is a good vamping opportunity for me here too, because I check a lot of content sites throughout the week. Football Guys, Draft Sharks, Player Profiler, RotoViz, a lot of great ones out there. And seeing some of the analysis of Kelvin Benjamin this week, it was kind of all over the place. Like I see some websites, and I can't remember which ones was which, but some are like, we like him as a top 20 play this week. We like him as a guy to put up top 15 numbers. And then other ones like, yep, he's not on the injury report. He's ready to go, and we think he's a WR4 or a top 50 receiver. You know what I mean? So like everybody kind of likes him, but it is a definite varying degree of liking and not liking. So I own Benjamin in one league. I actually had him benched when I set my lineup before the Thursday game. He was on my bench. I'm sure I'll start him now because my other option is probably not very good. My other option is probably like John Brown or something like that. I actually had Devin Funchess in a lineup when I thought Benjamin was going to miss. I'm actually going to be taking Funchess out despite the poor New England pass defense. I'm going to be taking Funchess out and putting somebody else in. So, I don't know who it is. Nobody cares about my team, so I'm going to stop talking about it. But that's what I would be doing with Benjamin and Funchess. Have you made any headway on figuring this out?
I couldn't find him.
Couldn't find him in the database? He's that bad.
In the character,
Kelvin Benjamin, not even listed on the internet.
I'm working on it.
Can you just search, do Kelvin Benjamin NFL game logs or something like that, or go to Pro Football Reference.
I'm working on
Reference or whatever. You got it?
Yeah, I have to go through multiple years though.
No, okay. Well, you should only have to go through 1 year to figure out he had more than 3, Dave.
All right, so in 2017, 0. 2016, he had 1.
Okay.
7 for 108 and 2 touchdowns.
15, he had none, obviously.
2. Yep, so we have for his big,
2 in 2014.
Yep, getting there. All right. Okay, there's 1, 2, 2. So 3 total.
3 total. And you know what? This is probably the worst defense he's ever faced in his career. So you know he's going to do it again. Kelvin Benjamin, baby. He's going to do it this week. Living large. Moving on. Seahawks coach Pete Carroll says he doesn't expect to know Doug Baldwin's status until Sunday.
His groin status.
His groin status. Brady Henderson on Twitter is we can thank for this update. He's a game-time decision. Baldwin plans on playing. He said it all week. However, did not practice at all this week. Yikes. That is not good. And to make things worse, to give you another gut punch, Seattle plays Sunday night.
It's always that way, isn't it?
To make it even worse, they're playing Indianapolis, a team that they probably don't need Baldwin to beat. Baldwin, I think I'm trying to think of other options. Like if you have Moncrief, sure, put Baldwin in.
If he didn't practice Friday, do not play.
Okay. Even though he says he's going to play. Doug Baldwin went to Stanford. He's a stand-up gentleman.
He is, and he's a gamer, too.
Yeah.
He's the person I would really – if he partially practiced Friday, I would think he would play, but I don't think so.
Not worth it. Not worth waiting around.
There's 13-point favorites. Why would they play him?
God, is it 13?
Against these retreads.
Wow. Yeah. That is bad.
I'm taking them, too.
Oh, in your Superbook contest or whatever?
Yeah, I was actually going to take Carolina +9, but then I realized one of the other guys on our 5-man squad already took New England.
Okay. No?
Thanks a lot, Maselli.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
That's great stuff. Let's move on. ESPN's Rich Cimini believes the Jets will lean heavily on Bilal Powell if Matt Forte is forced to miss Week 4. Breaking news update, Forte is out for Week 4. So Cimini believes that Jets, or Cimini, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Who cares?
The Jets, terrible. The Jets, he expects the Jets to be utilizing Bilal Powell quite a bit this week. Only 18 touches over the first 2 weeks for Bilal, but last week 15 carries against the Dolphins, and that was the game where Matt Forte went down with this turf toe injury. This is not a great matchup for Bilal Powell. Elijah McGuire obviously still going to be farting around in that backfield, getting stuff done. You look at Bilal Powell this week, Dave. I only own him on one league. I'm actually playing Marshawn Lynch in front of him.
No, that's smart.
And I don't really have like.
They're going to score points actually, unlike the Jets.
Lynch?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
The Raiders will score points.
Against Denver.
Yes, the Jets aren't. What are they going to get, like 6?
Jets haven't been terrible this year. We just heard from Dallas Grimes. He's like saying they're the best team in New York right now, ahead of the Giants.
That's not saying a whole lot.
Well, they're not the worst, and that might be saying a lot. So Bilal Powell this week.
They're not worse.
They're not worse than.
They can't be the worst if there's only 2 teams.
I don't know how official any of these rankings are.
Anyway.
So Bilal Powell this week, top 20 running back for you?
No.
Top 30 running back for you?
I guess.
So would you flex him out like as your second flex in the FFPC if you didn't have like excitable options?
Yes. Counsel is leading the witness, but yes.
I did not hear an objection.
You know what?
I got no more use for this guy. Moving on.
Nice job, Vinny.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Let's get into the conspiracy. What do they call it? Conspiracy theory?
Yes.
Let's get into the conspiracy theory portion of the show tonight.
Except for the flat Earth, that is actually true.
Adrian Peterson is not listed on the Saints' final Week 4 injury report. Now there were some stuff from beat writers on Twitter saying Peterson actually hurt his knee in practice earlier this week, but he returned to full practice on Friday. He's probably going to get some carries, maybe in the double-digit neighborhood. Probably not do anything with them. That's what his MO has been this season in New Orleans.
Glare at the coach a little bit.
Here's my conspiracy theory.
Yes.
He hurts his knee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Quote unquote hurts his knee.
Okay.
They just IR him. And then he has this, because it doesn't seem like he's doing anything. It doesn't seem like he's happy.
He just wants to get the $2 million or whatever he got.
And they IR him, and he's like, listen, I could have put up numbers. They wouldn't play me. What can you do?
Yeah.
And so now, because I think he was ticked, And now all of a sudden, he's practicing in full. He's fine. Like they've smoothed it over. Yeah, I think there still might.
You're saying there was a coaches meeting like Thursday morning or something like that?
No, I just think he cooled off.
Oh, okay.
Peterson.
Right.
He's like, no, I guess my knee's good. I'll play, I guess.
Just saying you faked a knee injury.
Yeah, just I like
that.
Put me on IR because obviously you don't want me here.
Yeah.
You don't want to use me. I don't want to play
frontal.
for you. Yeah, I think I don't think we've heard the last of this. That's my conspiracy theory about Adrian Peterson.
Give him the switch.
Kenny Stills, questionable for this week against his old team, Dave, the New Orleans Saints in jolly old London, which, by the way, 9:30 a.m. kickoff on Sunday. Get those lineups in early.
Thanks, Goodall.
Kenny Stills is an interesting guy because this could be a game not only, if we go take a walk down Narrative Street with me, Dave, here, this could be a big game for Kenny Stills. He's an interesting guy because they paid him a ton of money. Mm-hmm. Leonte Carew is buried on the depth chart there.
Terrible, yeah.
Kenny Stills 24, 25 years old. He is not an old man.
No, he's not.
He's up and coming, and he's playing behind Devontae Parker, who's had those foot issues. I mean, we don't know if those are going to crop up again. And Jarvis Landry, a guy that Miami just does not seem to like much at all. Kenny Stills is an interesting guy to roster if you can have the space.
Didn't Landry with a bunch of targets?
In week 1, in week 2, their first game.
Not last week.
He had 4 catches for 10 yards or something. It was terrible.
All right.
It was the Landry show in week 2, and it was the Parker show in week 3. And honestly, most of the Parker stuff, it was in garbage time, which I know you think shouldn't count.
Well, it should count. Cutler had 44 attempts last week and only got 1 touchdown. He's not,
it was bad.
Not looking so good.
Do you know that touchdown came as time expired?
I heard it was total garbage time, but I didn't know it was bad.
Yeah, as the clock read 0 when Parker caught that touchdown.
Wow. That's the garbageiest of all garbage.
Filthy garbage. Let's I think that is all I want to get to for Fantasy Flash here. We are.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
I have a starter set. Cutler against the terrible Saints defense?
The other guy.
Or Alex Smith at home on Monday night?
Under the lights, Dave? How is this even a question for you?
I know, I agree. I have Alex Smith. He's at least reliable.
Plus the Saints pass defense showed some moxie last week. Maybe they are. I've said this before. Nobody's ever as bad as they look. Nobody's ever as good as they look.
All right.
So the Saints obviously weren't as bad as they looked in the first 2 weeks, and they probably weren't as good as they looked in week 3. So, yeah.
Sounds like a general bar rule.
I would play Smith.
Picking up people.
Smith can throw to electric talents like Kareem Hunt and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill.
He can, but he doesn't really
Chris Conley.
He averages 28 a game.
Yeah. And
when you complete 75%, who cares?
I can totally see Cutler disappointing you. You know what I mean? So.
Yes, and then smoking a jag on the sidelines.
Let's get into some emails here, Dave. Hey, Jim and Tony. How awesome is Tony Romo? Did we talk about this on the show?
No, we haven't. He's pretty amazing.
You know, my personal friend, Brent Musburger, Dave. He actually...
Who you have, Bulky did meet and hang out with.
Hung out with in the Bellagio Sportsbook.
Bellagio Sportsbook. Yeah. Who else can say that? That's pretty impressive.
Not too many people. He was called out Tony Romo on this. Is like, this is, you know, the longer you're away from the game, the harder it's going to be to like pick these plays, or you know what I mean, like and like it's a gimmick, it's not going to work or whatever. I kind of disagree with that.
Musburger said that?
Yeah, Musburger did. Romo
was like, that's because you can't do it, Musburger.
Yeah, and Musburger did play-by-play, but he did more college, and then he did the NFL Today way back in the day, but I don't remember him doing play-by-play.
Well, I mean, they were running the Veer back when Musburger was around. I mean,
the Veer.
Yeah.
Is that what that's an offense? This is even before my time.
That's like it's a wishbone style offense.
Okay.
Wisconsin ran it at one point.
Interesting.
The Veer, I'm pretty sure. Anyway,
Tony Romo, awesome, right?
Yeah, pretty awesome. I don't see offenses changing that much over the next, let's say, decade, where he's going to stop people to identify, you know, pre-snap reads and defenses and so forth.
I think they will evolve. But to some extent, not to the extent where Roman's be like, oh my God, what are they doing?
What's going on?
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea where the pressure's coming from. Anyway, hey, Jim and Tony, what do you guys think of Wendell Smallwood without Darren Sproles for Philly now, Scott in Boulder, Colorado? We talked about with Dallas Grimes about it. We got his input. Your thoughts on Smallwood? You and I really didn't give ours.
I don't know. I think he might be okay. I'm not really super excited about Smallwood. I think you could underestimate LeGarrette Blount a little bit. He's going to get his. He's going to get touchdowns. He might get the blunt of the work.
Yeah, good one.
Thanks.
I've never been, when it comes to these pass catching, not that Smallwood's a scat back because he's big enough to be a 3-down guy, but Blount will take some first and second down work away from him. He probably will get the goal line work away from Smallwood. But for me, like if it's a pass catching running back, I tend to not really mind if there is a guy taking goal line from. Maybe that's on me and I should be worried about that. But I've never, like Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Stewart was a perfect comparison this year. Not that I'm comparing Smallwood to McCaffrey, but I didn't really care that McCaffrey probably wouldn't get goal line because I knew he was going to catch a ton of passes. And he caught 9 passes in 1 week last week as a running back.
He sure did, and that's why he is not Wendell Smallwood.
No, but
he is Christian McCaffrey.
Right, but so, again, but you had to invest a second-round pick into McCaffrey. You could have got Smallwood off the waiver wire last week.
That's because Smallwood's not that good.
Right, but that's my point, Dave. I'm not trying to equate them, but I think that there is a similarity in the style of play and the numbers that you can expect being put up, relative to the Philadelphia offense. So you look at Smallwood as a guy I would love to roster right now. I'm probably not playing him until the bye weeks hit, and I need a guy because he's not going to be a top 20 guy for me the rest of the way.
Probably not.
Okay. Moving on. How likely is it that Kareem Hunt starts to break down under his current workload now that we know Reed isn't going to dial it back at all? Is your boy Sharkhandrick a must-own? Thank you. That is Christian in Windham, New York. Thank you, Christian, for the email. Let's analyze the first question first. Kareem Hunt, rookie, not the biggest guy in the world. Are you worried about the workload?
Yeah, not too much. He's got young legs, and he doesn't seem like he gets blasted. He's not a running back who runs high. He seems like he's a little bit slippery, and he's evasive. He's just really talented that way. So I don't think so. I'm not that terribly concerned about it now.
There was a play in the Chiefs game this past week where Kareem Hunt, it looked like he was totally going to get leveled, not once but multiple times. Like that he had no blockers, and he kind of this is going to be terrible for radio, but he kind of moved his body so he wasn't taking a full-on shot from the guy. And then the next 2 or 3 guys that came up, he was still kind of wiggling around,
exactly.
Travoltaing him a little bit. Yeah, he never took, and he popped right back up. It didn't look like he had 5 guys essentially coming at him, and nobody got a good lick in on him. So I don't know. There's something to be said for that. Sharkhandrick West, how many leagues do you own him in?
It's like trying to punch a plant. You get in there and then all the leaves move around.
Yeah, that's true. I've never heard that analogy.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Sometimes I get mad, and we have some house plants. Anyway, Sharkhandrick West, you want to own him. I think so. I mean, I think he's worth owning. He's talented, and if he goes out, if Kareem goes out, I think you're gonna see good things out of West.
Is he the 3-down guy then? Is he a 3-down guy?
I think so.
I think so too.
And I think he can catch passes. He's fast. So I think so.
You have a spot rostered West because that was the problem I was running into this week. Not that my teams are so awesome, but I was having a problem. God, I want to get West in on this team. I just don't have a spot for him. That's my problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess when you have those deep rosters, Bulky, that is your problem. But, you know, Wes isn't out there in all that many leagues, really. I think he's pretty much rostered in most of them.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm going to look, but go ahead.
Is Melvin Gordon's pesky knee about to become a huge problem considering it's the one he hurt before? And how many leagues do you own Brandon Oliver in? That is Gary in Decatur, Illinois. That's where B.O.B. is from, for what it's worth.
The rapper?
Yeah.
All right.
A flat earther extraordinaire, B.O.B.
Right.
Yeah.
My brother in arms, then.
Yeah, exactly. So Melvin Gordon, now he's playing through it. I don't even think he was listed on the injury report, quite frankly. But it is the knee that he hurt. And he hasn't looked that great running the ball. His catches have actually saved him on a couple of weeks already. But you look at Melvin Gordon going forward, I think you just got to keep rolling him out there. If I'm in a dynasty league, I'd certainly be looking at offers for him just to see what I get. Not so much because of the knee, but just because of running backs in general. If I have a stud running back, I always want to see what somebody's willing to give me for him. And then Brandon Oliver question. I get him in a couple leagues. I wish I had him in more. He's another guy, too, that is a great pass catcher. You remember a couple of years ago before he tore his ACL.
Right.
Had a big-time impact in fantasy leagues down the stretch.
He was doing great. I totally agree. Oliver is a person you should try and get. I agree.
Did you find out the information on how many leagues? Are you literally placing bids on Charkandrick West right now?
Nope, I'm editing a bid, actually.
You already had a bid in on him. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, out of 29.
Because hold on.
Did you league sample and 4 of them he was unowned.
Did you actually increase the bid on West because we're talking about him on the show tonight?
A little bit. You know, sometimes I can influence myself, or you can influence me.
That's funny.
Now that I think about it, let me just tell you someone else that I think is an interesting person to bid on is Juju Smith-Schuster.
Really? Explain that a little bit.
They just announced him as the slot receiver, that he overtook, what's his name? Whoever the hell was the slot receiver.
Eli Rogers?
Yeah, whatever.
So it's Bryant Brown, and then I guess I kind of always
Smith-Schuster.
I always thought Smith-Schuster was the.
He's officially overtaken.
Okay.
He's been getting targets.
Yeah, he has been.
So, I don't know.
I own him in a few dynasty leagues.
Yeah.
Including one where I had.
Jesse James had 2 touchdowns week 1, but he's no good.
Yeah, that was a total fluke. I'm with you on that. Question in the chat room, Mint Montana. Alshon Jeffrey, how do you feel about him the rest of the year as a wide receiver too? So as a top 25 option, Dave, I feel pretty good about Alshon Jeffrey the rest of the way.
I do too, actually. I think he'll be fine. As long as he stays healthy, which is always a thing with him.
Contract year, which I know a lot of people say it doesn't mean anything. I think it does. Maybe not to the extent that a lot of people think it means everything, but there's something there. I like what he's doing, and Carson Wentz clearly has a connection with him. So let's move on here and talk about Cam Newton. Hey, Gerzak and Balkman. Cam Newton against the rotten Saints D last week killed me. Would you cut him for Trevor Siemian, Jay Cutler, or Deshaun Watson right now? It's Archie in Bedford, Mass. So he has Cam Newton on his team. I don't
cut him for whom?
The other options on his waiver wire are Siemian, Cutler, and Watson.
Not Cutler, not Watson. Siemian, I don't know, man.
I would not be cutting Newton for any of those guys. I think that not that you're trading him, but you're basically selling him right now to the waiver wire at his lowest possible value. This is one of the worst games he had. Maybe he's not fully right, but I don't see any of those guys as a big-time upgrade. If those are the guys on the waiver wire, you probably have another quarterback that you're playing ahead of Newton right now, so you have the luxury of benching Newton. If he's your only quarterback, and those are the 3 options on your waiver wire, I'd rather have the upside of Newton and just keep trotting him out there.
Yeah, he always has a chance to kind of go off. I mean, there is a chance if these first 3 games are just, I know he's not right, but he could, you could hear the news next week. Oh, Cam's feeling better than he has all season. He's feeling great or whatever, and all of a sudden he just gets better. What happens
if he gets the bye week to rest and all of a sudden his shoulder's good, he's clicking, and you're like, man, I cut him for Trevor Siemian? What was I thinking? That's something. That's an Eric Balkman move.
That could be something.
It will not be an Eric Balkman move. I will not do that. Larry in Birmingham, Alabama. How does Willie Snead fit with the Saints passing game now that he's back? And does Ginn have any value to be on y'all's rosters? That is Larry in Birmingham, Alabama. Thank you for the email, Larry. Thank you for listening to the show. Willie Snead comes back to London this week. Now, it's interesting. I don't think he was practicing, and he actually got added to the injury report today, Friday. So he may not even give it a go this week.
And the coach seemed kind of down on him.
He did seem down on him.
Pissed off or something.
And listen, when Sean Payton is down on a guy, you have to take notice because Sean Payton will not play that guy.
Yeah.
See Mark Ingram. See Adrian Peterson.
I know.
The litany goes on.
I mean, if there's one thing Payton can do, it's bench players. Yep. He can't coach well or win games or play defense.
Yeah.
Or even acquire defensive talent or coach them up.
He's an expert of keeping production off the field.
He's very good at retaining his job. That's another thing he's good at.
Yeah.
You have a Hall of Fame quarterback. You've been retaining your job for a while.
Right.
Let's see what happens when Drew Brees retires.
Okay. So you look at this week, nothing really changes. Let's say Willie Snead comes back in week 5. I don't know how much changes right there. It's not like he's going to be starting over again. Yeah, I still like Ginn going forward over Snead.
Yeah, they could kind of cancel each other out, but yeah, I don't like Snead at all. There was a couple times where I was thinking of taking him, and somebody else. I was fixing to take him, as Dallas would say, and by the way, I kind of like that phrase. I'm gonna start saying that. And I didn't get him, and I'm actually happy that happened.
Yeah, a fixin' to do something is underrated in our vocabulary here in Northeast Wisconsin.
Yeah, people they say all sorts of other stupid phrases.
Dave, it's one of my favorite part of the show.
All right.
Blind resume.
Okay.
Bobby in St. Paul, Minnesota. I have a blind resume for you. I am currently second in the NFL in receiving yards with 299, and am the fantasy wide receiver 7. I also have 7th ranked receiver.
So he's got 299.
290, yeah.
He's 7th because he doesn't have as many touchdowns.
I also have 19 grabs on the year, but my ending FFPC ADP was 711. This guy was going at the end of the 7th round, and he's the 7th overall receiver right now as we head into week 4. Who am I? Now, Dave, I'm going to give you a hint here. This email is from Bobby in St. Paul, Minnesota.
All right. Thielen.
That is correct, my friend. Ding, ding,
You totally
ding.
gave me that one because with the Minnesota, that's it.
Can you believe he's
easy.
second in the league in receiving yards?
Well, I can now.
If I had to do it all.
He had a huge week.
Yeah, he did.
Was huge.
He had 2 big weeks.
Right.
Last week, 5 for 98, by the way.
Wow, that's incredible, actually.
Well, it's not an incredible week, but it's still very good.
Almost as good as Benjamin's going to have this week.
Except for Benjamin's going to get a touchdown, too.
2 more yards.
And 2 more yards. And probably another catch. He's going to have a 2-yard touchdown catch. That's what you eliminated from that analysis.
Exactly.
If I had to do it all over again, I got to start asking our guests this question in the middle of the season. I definitely would have taken Kareem Hunt more in mid. I was talking. Actually, I should promote this right now.
You take all the players that are scoring points.
No, I know it sounds ridiculous. I'll defend it in a second. Rotoviz.com/podcast. Check it out. The High Stakes Lowdown is out. Came out yesterday. It was a great episode with Nelson Sousa and I'm forgetting who we had on. Oh, this is ridiculous.
And the other guy.
Adam Grossman.
Ah, yes.
The Atom Bombs.
Yes.
Great dynasty player. Great redraft player. Great interview, by the way. A lot of great stuff to hear from him. So
I have a trivia question for you after your story.
Okay. So my story is here. If I had to do it over again, I was telling Adam on the show that I feel like for my running back 3, I was faced with Derrick Henry or Kareem Hunt in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
Ended up going with Henry. Felt like he had the better upside.
Yeah,
just felt better about it.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
So I got Henry in a bunch of spots. Didn't get Kareem Hunt anywhere. If I had to do it over again, I definitely would have taken Hunt more than Henry. Well, I mean,
of course,
more Hunt. At least some Hunt, for God's sake. And number 2, I would have taken Thielen more. I feel like, I always want to get, and I did better this year. My second running back always suffers in these leagues because I got to get these receivers. Once these receivers are gone, there's nobody left. Well, there's guys like Thielen that was left. There's guys like Pierre Garçon that was left. And I did a pretty good job. My running backs are actually all right this year for most of my leagues. But Thielen is a guy that you could have gotten in the FFPC in the 7th round, and he's crushing it right now.
That's awesome.
Trivia question. Go.
No, the movie Revenge of the Nerds, what is the name of the college that they went to, and what is the name of their mascot?
I don't know, and I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It's Adams College.
Okay.
And it's the Adams.
Ant?
Adams.
Thielen?
The Adams.
Oh, that's like that molecule.
Yes,
I got it.
The
Adams. This is clearly a science, technical institute of technology.
Except for the Alpha Betas, that fraternity, they had they took over the football team.
Had a lot of dumb football players.
Kicked all the freshmen out of the dorms after they burnt down their own.
Yeah. Great movie.
In a drinking game.
Jerry in Portland, Oregon. Am I crazy to bench Amari Cooper this week? He's been pretty dreadful so far and now has to go to Mile High to take on that Broncos secondary. My other options are Adams, who played last night. Sammy Watkins, Adam Thielen, and Rashard Matthews. So let's assume that...
Sammy Watt, you got to play.
Okay, so you're playing Watkins over Cooper. Are you playing Adam Thielen over Amari Cooper?
Let's see. Minnesota's at home against what, Detroit?
Detroit.
Man, I'm tempted to. Amari Cooper's really been making me upset.
And he's going to be facing either Talib or Chris,
sure.
The other guy.
You know what? Why not?
I would play Thielen over him.
Why not?
Okay, here's where it gets a little bit tougher. Rashard Matthews, are you
No.
going to play him over Amari Cooper?
No. Even though Matthews is doing all right.
Scored a touchdown last week, looking good, and Corey Davis is already out this week.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's closer than you think, right?
Tennessee is playing at Houston with a total of 44. I think I would play Cooper.
Yeah, I would too.
If you ask me tomorrow, I might say Matthews.
That's great.
But you know what? Sunday morning, I'll say Cooper again. So start Cooper over Matthews. But play Thielen over Cooper. All right, moving on. We got to fly here. What's up, guys? After a 1 week, quote-unquote, permanent fantasy benching, am I cleared to get Joe Mixon back in my lineup again? Last week, I benched him for Chris Thompson, and I also have Mark Ingram and Buck Allen. I absolutely love your podcast, guys. That is Joe in Lansing, Michigan. Joe, we obviously absolutely love you as well. Let's talk about Joe Mixon here. Is he back in your good graces as a top 20 running back going forward?
He's close. I don't know about top 20 yet.
He's locked in top 20 for me. No problem with that.
I don't. For the rest of the season?
Yeah, for the rest of the season.
That's gutsy.
I don't think it's that gutsy. I mean, he was drafted as like a top 15 guy.
All right.
That's fine. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just telling you.
$5 that he's top 20 running back from weeks 4 to week 16.
Okay, so you got 5 on Joe Mixon.
I want him. By the way, I want him to.
I know. Joe Mixon, FFPC points starting this week, week 4, through week 16.
Yep.
Is not a top 20 running back.
Correct. That's
and
my bet.
I say he is.
All right.
You say he's not.
I had to give you one, Bulk. You had to throw one out to you there.
I lost again last week to you.
I know.
I can't remember what bet it was, but it was one that it was close. We actually both guys put up good numbers.
It was close. Somebody told me I won, but I forgot who it was as well.
Yeah.
I was 2 under the weather.
Okay. Mixon top 20 and starting week 4. Okay. So it worked out last week that he played Chris Thompson over Joe Mixon. Would you recommend he does that again this week? Play Thompson over Mixon?
I would actually. I mean, Mixon, he's not averaging that many yards per carry. You still don't know for sure what's going on. They are playing a not great team, Cleveland on the road.
At Cleveland, total
41.5. Yeah, that's not good at all. I think Mixon actually will have a touchdown this week, and I think he'll actually play well with. He has such a high floor with Chris Thompson that I think you just got to roll with him until he just proves you wrong and has a bad week.
You know the other thing that's going great for Chris Thompson? The other guys in his backfield stink, and they are playing badly.
They are god-awful.
They are not good. Washington is on the road in Kansas City as a 7-point dog. You would think that they will be throwing.
Yeah, that's a great
Take
point.
a guess on that total?
47.
49.5.
Crap. You know what's funny is I was looking at scores and odds today, and I still screwed up the total.
Thompson, I would play over Mixon this week. Yep, I would play Thompson over Mixon. Would you play Ingram over Mixon?
Evan Ingram?
No, Mark Ingram.
Ingram.
Okay, Evan Ingram. Would you play Evan Ingram as your flex? FFPC.
Yeah, I might.
I would not. I would play Mixon over Evan Ingram.
Mark Ingram, let's see, across the pond, one of the biggest phrases I hate in the whole planet.
Yeah.
I would play Mark Ingram over him.
I would rather play Mixon, and Mixon, you're playing him over Buck Allen, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, me too. Okay, hey, HSFF Hour. With no Pro Size this week, I was wondering if you could play a Would You Rather with Chris Carson in what could be his best game of the year. That is Brian in Haddonfield, New Jersey.
Brian's excited about Carson.
Well, I think I'm just excited about Chris Carson. Chris Birchby, by the way, you can follow on Twitter at Chris Birchby, who had on the show before. He's also been on the Lowdown before. He actually tweeted out he's very excited to let the Carsons out this week. He tweeted a shot of all the FPCs that he has that have Chris Carson on it. So he's planning on rolling him out this week. And I would be excited if I had Chris Carson as well. So Chris Carson, Dave, let's get into this here. He is at home against Indy. Would you rather play him or DeMarco Murray at the Texans?
I'll take Carson. And the reason, by the way, I'm pretty optimistic about Carson because they're laying 13 points. They're going to be big favorites, so he will probably get a lot of rushing attempts because the lead is what sets up the run.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And Rawls stinks, Lacey stinks, Procise is out.
Yeah.
Okay, I would agree with that. I would play Carson over Murray.
I'm not feeling good about Murray this year, and Henry's still pretty good.
Carson or Chris Thompson at Kansas City.
I'm going to go with Chris Thompson because of the high floor.
I would probably go with Chris Thompson as well, not necessarily because of the high floor, but the high total. I mean, he's got to fall into some fantasy points just in a 50-point game. Chris Carson or Mark Ingram at the Dolphins?
Ingram.
Give me Carson there. Carson or Buck Allen at home against the Steelers?
Carson.
I agree. Carson or Lamar Miller at home against the Titans?
I hate Lamar Miller, so I'm always starting someone over him.
Okay, so Carson. Thank you. Don't make it complicated. Chris Carson or Joe Mixon at the Browns?
Carson.
I agree. Chris Carson or C.J. Anderson at home against the Raiders?
C.J. Anderson.
I agree. And last one.
What do we got here? 20?
We'll do one more. Carlos Hyde at the Cardinals.
Hyde may not even play. I mean he's probably going to play, but they were talking about Breida possibly playing, so definitely not Hyde. Carson.
Playing Carson. Okay, and I'll agree with that, actually. Give me the healthy guy. Dave had a strong feeling about this last week, but is Jordan Reed also not startable in Week 4 if you don't have VD on Monday night?
Yes,
thanks, guys. Well, Sunday night it would be, right? They play Sunday?
Whatever it is, it's a primetime game, as usual, with Reed, and no, you don't play.
No, they play Monday. We just discussed this. I'm an idiot.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so you have Vernon Davis. You'll play Reed.
Yeah, then I would play one of the two.
Okay.
Unless, again, depending on the options, but probably one of the two.
Okay. Other than that, you are not playing Reed.
No, I'm not risking a zero with Reed.
Got it. Yep.
That's a terrible decision. I have that decision. I have Reed in one of my main events. I'm playing, like Charles Clay over him, which isn't that hard of a choice.
Yeah. I am currently risking it with zero. Well, the thing is, if you read the reports last week compared to this week, Reed is doing a lot more stuff this week that he was not doing last week. I could put in, I think my backup there is Austin Hooper, which basically is you're risking a zero starting him anyway.
I thought he was so great.
He is. He's just he's finding his way. Listen, Dave, I play season-long fantasy football. I don't play week 3 fantasy football.
Reed had a good week. Hooper had a good week once, didn't he? Like week 1?
2 for 98 and a touch, I think, was his week 1 line.
Yeah, that was huge.
He scored in week 2 and then did not do anything.
Well, that's something, buddy.
Don't patronize me on this show.
It's okay.
Max in Louisville, Kentucky.
He's hanging in there. He's better than Fleener was that one year.
Max in Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, thank you. That makes me feel really good. Who dis? Jeremy Maclin hosting Steelers or touchdown tie?
Mr. 1 for 8, Maclin.
Yeah. Well, he did get hurt. Which, by the way.
So what? That's no excuse. That is not an excuse.
You know how fast Jeremy Maclin is, Dave? Set the record for jetting through the concussion protocol faster than anybody ever has before.
Very impressive.
Was in the protocol that game. I'm like, oh, he's done. And then he's farting around on the field in the fourth quarter when they're getting killed. I didn't get it.
Nice.
Yeah. Jeremy Maclin hosting the Steelers or touchdown Tyrell Williams versus the Eagles. That is Max in Louisville, Kentucky. Thank you for the email, Max. Which one are you playing, Maclin or Williams?
I'm playing Tyrell Williams.
I would too. Even though there's more options, I would say, in that Chargers offense. I just hate the Raiders offense, or Ravens offense in general right now.
Yeah, I like Tyrell. I think he's a talented player.
Dear Dave and Eric, need some punch for my FPC league. Evan Engram or Jared Cook on Sunday. Thank you for your consideration. Carl in York, Pennsylvania. Which one you playing, dude? Evan Engram is going up against the... I just had it here. Damn it. I get all this stuff set up, and then I always screw it up when I actually need the information. Evan Engram is at Tampa. Jared Cook is at Denver. So they're both on the road. Which one you like better this week?
The rankings would say to play Cook. I just don't like Cook all that much. I think Ingram is amazing for a rookie tight end. He's doing really well.
Yeah.
I'll take Ingram.
We actually, I agree with that. And actually, Nelson Sousa, who lives in New York, we talked about Evan Engram potentially bucking this rookie tight end thing. So far he is. And if you want to know if Nelson, the 2016 FFPC main event champion, believes that he will continue to do it, rotoviz.com/podcast. Download it there. You can stream it live as well on the blogtalkradio.com/rotoviz channel as well. You can find out his answer there. It's great. It's a great podcast. Everything's great. This is a great show as well.
One thing about Ingram, just real quick, is the fact that he's doing this well as a rookie really, really, really bodes well for him as a future dynasty player. I mean, second year, third year, I would be doing anything and everything I can to get him and paying pretty premium money for him.
I think there's going to be a lot of Sharky players in FFPC dynasty formats making Evan Ingram trades, not only right now, but right now, because after the season, I think you're going to end up paying more. Now is the time to get him.
If he has like 750 yards and like 7 touchdowns or something like that, forget about it, because then he's looking at an 1,100-yard season possibly as a second-year, third-year guy.
But then you have to look at if they do bring in a new quarterback, how does that whole thing work? But Brandon Marshall's not long for that team.
Yeah, he's going to be gone. So. All those things are correct. The coaching staff's probably going to change.
When is the trade deadline for FFPC Dynasty Leagues? Do we know?
It's after, it's in the rules.
The clock is ticking, gentlemen.
After 9 or 10.
The clock is ticking, and your journey to acquire Evan Ingram.
Can't wait for all those emails. When is the trade deadline? Did you read the rules? No. We never say that. We actually look it up.
Clearly, I never read the rules either. Otherwise, I would know. That's going to do it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Dallas Grimes, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, all of you. We will be back next week, 10-9 Central, with another guest, helping you set your Week 5 lineups, talking about what you should be doing in waivers the following week, preview the action as well for Week 5. Early lineup Sunday morning, 9:30 Eastern a.m. Get those lineups in before the Saints-Dolphins kickoff in London. Best of luck to all of you in Week 5, and hopefully the ball bounces your way. Your weekend officially starts
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. That was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Big dog stay on the court. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Where you get that from?
We hit that 70% of all emails got answered, but barely.
Whew. Well, 30% of people will be mad.
We have too many people emailing questions into the show. I'm going to tell everybody right now, do not send any emails to highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. We cannot get to them. Don't bother.
Sorry.